So much energy from our DJ. What a great way to start the day. Hello, everyone. I'm Luiz Martins, the CMO here at Six Connects, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to our annual Customer Summit. We call this CNX, and it stands for Create New Experiences. And that's exactly what we invite you to do today. Tour the environment, interact with the activities, attendees, content, games. We have an exhibit hall. I was singing so loud that I'm losing my voice. Sorry about that. Maybe we should have thought about having a shorter DJ session so I wouldn't sing and dance as loud and lose my voice just before me getting started. Apologies for this. But as I was saying, just go through this environment, interact with the activities, attendees, content, games. We have an exhibit hall. Stop by and say hello to our partners. Experience some very innovative technology that you may want to use for your future events. Visit the Six Connect Solutions Hall to learn more about the services we offer. By the way, Six Connects has a lot of event experts here. It's really easy to find us, so please don't hesitate to chat with us at any time. We also have a lot of interesting people visiting us today. Don't miss the opportunity to network. This was designed for you to have fun and really create new experiences. We do have a favor to ask. If you like this environment, please go to the G2 link in the lobby and give us your thoughts. The first 25 reviews we get on G2, we'll make sure to send you a $20 Starbucks card as a gesture and thank you for your time and thoughts. One of the very frustrating things about virtual events is that the speakers don't get an immediate response from the audience. It's like talking to a mirror. I'm here talking to a camera. So please, throughout the event, use the chat to ask questions and interact with the speakers. Talking about the speakers, we have a great agenda for you today. Let me walk you through that agenda. I'm going to start from the bottom up, if that's all right, and work my way up to the first event. We're closing today with a boost of energy from our DJ Keeley's. Bring your requests, she'll mix them up and give you a boost of energy that I'm sure will take you all the way to Friday. At 12:30 Central, we have our first edition of the Six Connects Awards. We do hundreds of events here at 6C. Our team interacts with so many bright event and marketing teams, and they have a lot of experience on what a successful event is. The team got together and voted on the events that they thought were outstanding events and delivered what they set out to do. So not only form, but function. So please come and watch this session and you'll see how some of our customers have been planning, designing, and delivering award-winning events. I'm sure this will give you an idea, maybe two, that you can leverage for your own future events. Before that, we have two sessions on lead generation. As a marketer, our cheese has been moved yet again, and we're trying to figure it out how to get first-party data and identify leads on their journey to buy. Events are perfect for this. So the first session starts at 11 a.m. Central with Kara Poole, our very own client experience manager here at Six Connects, talking about how we can create environments that really help boost lead generation. After that, at noon Central, we'll have Lexi Wright with Bamboo HR and Michael Chance with Six Connects go through an actual case study where Bamboo HR leveraged some of our tools to drive leads. They'll be sharing some of the incredible results they had on their event. If you're a marketer, I assure you, you don't want to miss these sessions. It's a great investment of 1 hour of your time, and I'm sure will give you lots of ideas. Right before that, at 10:45 a.m. Central, we'll have a panel with some very knowledgeable people that have been on the event space for a while and have some great insights to share. I can tell you that just in prepping for this event, I've learned so much. The best thing about this panel is that the team is live, ready, and willing to take your questions. So please bring your thoughts, doubts, questions about your event strategy, and take this unique opportunity to discuss with this team. That brings us to the first session of the day, driving sustainability. Let me just move my slides here. Driving sustainability in 2023. this is one of my favorite topics. If you're following Six Connects, you know we push the sustainability event at every opportunity that we have. If you've been around events for a while now, you know that sustainability has been a topic that was discussed at length back in 2017, 2018, 2019. It felt that that was all we talked about. There are so many activities around sustainable events. Once the pandemic hit, we saw the discussion about sustainable events kind of phase out a bit. 3 years after that, we have the opportunity to discuss sustainability with a whole new framework in mind. There are new technologies, innovative strategies, and way more comprehensive view of what sustainability is. To help me with this topic, I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with two people who live and breathe sustainability on a daily basis. Pedro Pereira, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer at SAP for Latin America and the Caribbean region, who will be sharing some slides and thoughts about how overall he sees the sustainable efforts from SAP and some great projects that he is seeing in the region. And then we have Dan Sobrinski, who is Senior Vice President, Director of Sustainability, Energy and Climate Change at WSP. If you have done global sustainability projects, you're probably very familiar with WSP. I'm going to say you one thing about WSP. They are the only company I know that have 14,000, you heard it right, 14,000 environmental specialists on staff. And from where Dan sits, he's got a wonderful view of what sustainability is now and what's coming up in the future. So with that said, let's get started. I'm going to invite Pedro Pereira to the stage. Pedro, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Looking forward to go through your slides.
Well, that's exciting. Thank you so much, Luiz. Hello and welcome, everybody. If sustainability action depends on the energy we saw in this event, we are really in a good direction here. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you a little bit of my experience and what we are learning working worldwide, different companies and organizations. And as a matter of fact, I have a big privilege. For the past 12 years, I've been working in different countries. I lived 10 years in Dubai, working in the Middle East region, learning how that region is making a transition from the fossil fuels to every different industry you can imagine. The recent one in Saudi Arabia, you will find the NEOM project. Oh my gosh, they are trying to put trillions to really make the future today. Also, I had the opportunity to work in the EMEA region, where Europe has taught us how to put legislation, regulation of sustainability in action. I learned so much over there. And now I'm back in Latin America, working in this amazing market out of Miami, where I speak to all of you right now. And I've been gathering a lot of learnings. And as I was preparing to talk to you today, I tried to find one story that connects the topic of sustainability to actually the future. And we cannot talk about the future if we don't go to the past. The slide that I show to you right now, ladies and gentlemen, is about the city of Cusco in Peru. Let's add some culture here and historical facts. This city of Peru was built by the ancient Incas. Do you know the Incas? Have you ever studied them at the school? Well, these people already at the very beginning of their civilization, they had a connection and harmony with nature. In this case here, they built canals and aqueducts to bring the water from the rainwater and start distributing across the city. They believed that working in harmony with nature would help them achieve a sustainable balance. And that helped us understand that there is potential from the past for us to connect with nature in order to build the solutions we need in the future. Well, if you even look to the city and the country of Peru today, the country is now becoming more developed. And there are new sustainability challenges that they are facing, like deforestation, and issues with the biodiversity and the climate change, right? And with that kind of new challenge, you have a huge consequence that could be affecting all of us today. So sustainability is a job from everybody, but needs to be addressed today. Here's a chart that shows us that global temperature is actually increasing. There is no doubt that humankind, with all the advances in the last century, have been putting pressure in the climate. And that comes with a lot of consequences. As you can see, this change in the global temperature will have a big effect on all of us. When you think of what governments, countries, and companies will do, well, there will be more regulation, more initiatives to help organizations to adapt into this new environment where it's not only about profitability, it's about sustainability becoming profitable and profitability becoming sustainable. And we see worldwide, from the Americas, from Asia, from EMEA, everywhere you see new regulatory initiatives expected to come into play, and that will change the way we do business, and we will have to adapt our business models. And the question that we have to ask ourselves, what should we do? What is your role into this entire new change of industries? Well, I have put together some scenarios for action to create awareness of what could be your personal and your organization's contribution. First, we need to understand where we are. Number one, there is an external and an internal impact for organizations. Number one is compliance. When you have to be accountable to your markets, you have to be compliant with your processes and operations. This is where organizations are facing an issue with their license to operate. Basically, if they don't follow the principles of a sustainable business, they might lose their license to operate, even lose the opportunity to sell their products or export their products due to new legislation. There are organizations that already understand that their efficiencies must be based on, sustainable practices. And this is where the profitability hypothesis of an organization needs to embrace sustainable practices. So now that you have a competitive advantage to run a strategy in the next 5 to 10 years. But finally, and as we talk to a lot of marketeers here, there is a desire in the market from solutions that embrace innovation. We call them the green stakeholders, people that want to buy their clothes from areas where they are sure that doesn't come from disrespect for human labor. They want to have their cars that are more sustainable to the future, that are electric because it consumes less fossil fuel. There is a huge demand from green stakeholders for innovation, and that desire lies on the hands of the leadership of today. Different scenarios that will give you a canvas for you to build the sustainable solutions of the future. Well, speaking of Latin America, I'm promoting here a couple of examples. You see, in Argentina, they produce beautiful wines. And now in the city of Mendoza, this production of wine that comes from organic sources became a profitable niche market. In a way, they have the connection with the nature, but at the same time, they cater to an innovation that the market desire, and the profitability that comes with it is very attractive. So it is possible for organizations to think outside of the box and create solutions that will have an impact. And I guess we can learn from the history of the city of Cusco that show us that we can work in harmony with nature to achieve a sustainable balance. Now, if there's one thing I would like you to remember and to walk away as the introduction of today's session, we must commit to protecting our natural resources and encourage innovation and investment in sustainability. This is the next frontier of business opportunities. And that starts with you, not someone else, not another company. It's with you. What's going to be your contribution there? ESG is a term that the market is using to define actions in different areas. It stands for environmental, social, and governance. In ESG, you have important factors for businesses and investors to make decisions about the future of an organization. They want to see beyond the projections of financial results. They want to see the impact on the planet with environmental challenges like climate change, emissions of CO2. They want to see how you're dealing with your waste, how you're using the water and the land, and how you are embracing renewable energy. On the other side, you also need to focus on the social impact of your organization. You have diversity, inclusion, requalification. We're talking about the age of AI, how we are going to requalify and bring those individuals to use everything they have to the benefit of entire communities here. And as the foundation, you have the governance that forces organization to be more transparent, more compliant, and also deal with corruption, cybersecurity, and focus on the economic prosperity of everything that they do. We've done a research with executives like you guys, professionals in the market, and we asked one simple question. What's your motivation? What would you do sustainability action in your organization? Here are 3 things we learned from the motivations. Number 1, the motivation comes from the commitment from boards and CEOs to the environment, but also from the government regulation. And we see here in the United States, for instance, SEC is putting rules for the public companies to embrace sustainability disclosures and engage also their supply chains into this process. And number 3, there is also this expectation of revenue and profit growth opportunities. There is a bunch of opportunities there that motivates organizations to do action. At the same time, if everything is beautiful, what are the barriers? So why it's not done just yet? Here are 3 things that we also learned. Number 1, it's unclear how to embed sustainability into business processes and IT systems. Lend that concept into reality. Number 2, it's also unclear how potential actions would align with the strategy. We have that connection with nature. Now, how we translate that into our strategy actions. And finally, the difficulty on providing return on investment. Sustainability is not charity. Sustainability is business, and good business. And that's what organizations want to bring to the discussion as they talk on sustainability. An important concept that I want all of you to be aware of is that sustainability is not something you do by yourself. Organizations cannot be sustainable alone. They need to engage their value chain, their suppliers, and their customers into this. Here is an important concept called Scope 3 emissions. Imagine that the greenhouse gas emissions that is causing climate change comes from 3 sources, basically. Scope 1 is your own operation, things that you have control of. Scope 2 will be the energy you acquire. So the more you go into renewable energy, the less you have this kind of consumption. But then Scope 3 comes from indirect sources, like your suppliers, like the travels. And I'm glad we are doing this event online, because in this way, we avoid a lot of emissions for your organization, because nobody had to travel to be in person. And that means less carbon in the planet. And this is where you have Scope 3 from your upstream. But at the same time, you have Scope 3 from the downstream, the product you sell, the usage of that product. Does that comes with plastic? What's the end of use of that product? You have reverse in logistics that can collect it back and bring it to circularity. It means that whatever is your impact will affect your customer. And whatever is the impact of your supplier will affect you. So everybody is connected when you think that sustainability is a network game. Here are 7 actions that I believe every organization should do in order to become sustainable and prepared to adapt their business model. Number 1, they have to assess their current impact. That's where data comes into play. If you have technology that gives you data from your business processes, you can understand at least where you are so that you can set clear goals. Without goals, you cannot achieve anything. Right? And with those goals, you can go back to your strategy and start integrating ESG goals into the corporate strategy and make that connection that will ensure that your organization is intelligent and it's sustainable, it's profitable, and it's sustainable. Finally, you can establish measurement metrics. Without metrics, without targets, we don't know where we are going. So with that goals comes targets as well. And with all that set of actions, you can bring the commitment of your leadership and make communications to be transparent and strengthen collaboration. The way we see it at SAP, the organization that I represent, is that every organization should have a sustainability control tower. Imagine a control tower that gives you a holistic perspective of all those metrics and all the actions your organization is doing that will help you to sustain your position as a leader for the future, at the same time bring investors and bring the community to be partners with you in everything you do. Here are a set of metrics that you can walk the talk. So if you are taking notes right now, or if you have access to those screens, just take a look. Environmental, social, governance, and economic metrics that if you have it, great. You know the direction you're going. If you don't have it today available, it means that sustainability is just a talk. You're not walking the talk. Without data, without information, it's impossible for us to put sustainability in action. So walk the talk with ESG metrics and actions connected to that. My company comes from this concept of the ERP, that every organization should have an integration of all their processes and systems. We've done a good job. A lot of organizations have been profitable by integrating their business processes. But when we look at ESG, those are resources that are intangible. But if you want to achieve your ambition of ESG, you will have to go all the way from your ERP, where you can have trusted data that sustain your processes that even more are being audited, right? So you have data and processes that are auditable, traceable, to comply and become transparent with so many standards and regulations. Here you have a list of transparency and compliance standards like the GRI, TCFD, where banks are looking for to make a transaction that is more beneficial to your organization. So everybody's looking to the action of your organization. And that way, if we go from the ERP to the ESG, we can generate a positive impact that reflects in what we call the triple bottom line. It means that we generate revenue, we reduce costs for profitability, but also we have a new dimension of success, which is the green line. The top line, the bottom line, and the green line. That's the new dimension of success that will differentiate your career and your organization in the future. I'm very excited for this case of Danone. Very simple example. Everybody in Danone that wants to get their CapEx, their investments approved by the finance department, they have to go into the system and show how that investment will impact the reduction of CO2 by 2030 and also the usage of renewable electricity. So nobody that don't have the arguments that this will have a contribution will receive the investments. It's a good way for you to connect day-to-day processes to real action. Again, walk the talk of sustainability. In that direction, you can show your organization so many ways that you can improve the returns, the outcomes of your organization, showing real data, right? In cost reduction and intangible benefits. Also, revenue growth. If you're a marketeer, you have an incredible opportunity to bring sustainability as part of your marketing strategy in order to grow your revenues in the market. At the same time, you can reduce the risk of compliance and issues that every day we will face. So take advantage of those opportunities and differentiate your value proposition. To end here, I have a say in Spanish that I would like you to learn. It says, hagamos eco. It means let's make echo. Let's echoate this message. Let's resonate this message. It's not about awareness. It's about action. That's why we say hagamos eco. For the planet, for profitability, and for action. I would like to stay connected with you, and I will continue with you in the Q&A going forward today. But before, I want you to know more about this topic of sustainability from my colleague, Dan. Then we'll talk to you about how WSP is working and will enlighten us with more information. Hey, Dan, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Really excited to be here. Thank you, Pedro. That was really wonderful. The overview that Pedro just provided on sort of what I would say is leadership around sustainability. And we see so many coming to leadership. So Dan Sobrinski here with WSP. Thank you to Luis and the DJ for getting us excited. I hope to keep the energy going and talk a bit about just really a few comments on how to take some of what Pedro was just outlining around sort of sustainability, the playbook that we see emerging among so many leaders, and start to really drive sort of that ambition that's expressed into business outcomes. And just a few comments on that. I'll tell you a little bit about WSP in a second here and a little more about myself, but I want to start with a mega trend. We hear net zero all the time. What does that mean? How do we operationalize it? And really what I have in the title slide here, science-based targets, because science-based targets is a mega trend that is complements net zero. And in many organizations, most leading organizations have expressed ambitions to have sort of science-aligned carbon footprints or greenhouse gas emissions across their value chains. So that's across their supply chains, their operations, as Pedro was talking about, scopes 1, 2, and 3. That's the supply chain operations, their employee impacts, their products and their use, and their investments. So looking across a value chain, having science aligned. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but the opportunity is that ambition is not always leading to action. That's the opportunity that sits in front of us. Across all our decisions being made that have consequential environmental impacts, present to us opportunities. And so what I would hope you leave with is to see that ambition when it gets expressed as net zero, when it gets expressed as science-based targets, that you see that as an opportunity to bring a dimension of sustainability into those decisions that adds to those economic decisions considerations and those function decisions considerations that we have. All right, so WSP, why WSP? Why do I feel very good about where we are? Why do we kind of help bring solutions and partner with clients to really activate sustainability? So we're a leading sort of professional services and design engineering firm. We, globally, global footprint. We're across transportation and infrastructure planning, property and buildings. So we are doing water systems, power systems, environmental compliance. So broad-based professional services. About 20 years ago, I've been along with building this practice, so have worked with leading organizations to really shape what we have today as corporate sustainability, corporate ESG, as Pedro was introducing those concepts, and what that means. What does leadership look like? How do we express it across our supply chains, across our operations, across our products and employees and investments? And we've been doing that and partnering with clients. The insight that I would share along this way, before I move to some of those specific services around climate change, is that 20 years ago, 15 years ago, we were mostly working with leading companies on why questions. Why would we do this? We started, once those questions were answered somewhere along that journey, we were answering, but is this moment now? When questions we were talking a lot about. So why and when we're being satisfied. The question of who has the responsibility. Is it the supplier? Is it the customer? Is it the organization bringing it to the market? Those questions have often now been answered. So the questions of why are there. As Pedro outlined, there's intersections of profitability, innovation, and value creation. The when questions is now. They've been answered. Leadership is there. The who questions are everyone figuring out what their role and what their opportunities are. The questions we're now answering with clients and why I see WSP is so integral into this is their what and how questions. How do we decarbonize? How do we build infrastructure? How do we start to bring products and services to the market? So just quickly say, we have a range of services that take clients end to end, from planning all the way through to design. I'm not going to highlight those. I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of science-based targets. There's an initiative. There are a growing number of global companies. We're into the thousands of companies. This is rapid growth in 5 years. These are sort of net zero, science-aligned targets, many leading brands. And what you now see is that what science-based means is taking global climate science and saying we have to contain emissions by 2050, by mid-century, to a certain level. How do we downscale that to individual organizations? How do we then broaden what those responsibilities are so it's not just your operations, but we look across? And then how do we drive different business outcomes? And what I will leave you with is the supply chain is where leading brands are looking. When you have event coordination, you have embedded carbon in the different methods to which you may bring an event forward, and the ability to understand greenhouse gas and other environmental and social consequences of the different event options you have, so you can then work with your business decisions to say, we can pick, we can select, and we can move forward with events that have lower carbon footprints. These align and these help ladder up to these science-based targets that organizations are setting at the organizational level. So I'll leave you with that, and pass back to Luis here to lead any Q&A if we still have some time for that.
Yeah, we do. Dan, can I ask Pedro to come join us again?
Please.
Hey, Pedro, thank you so much, you guys.
I am.
This has been a wonderful set of slides, wonderful presentation. Really works, I think, for any business. And I'm sure that the folks watching this are thinking about what it is that they could do within the organizations to get a bit more ESG compliant, I guess. So we have a couple of questions that came through on the chat. The first one, where do I start with implementing sustainability in my event organization process? Pedro or Dan, whoever you feel like would like to answer this.
Well, I can say about the events that we are organizing at SAP, right? I would say sustainability has changed completely how SAP organize its events, right? Number one, a lot of mindfulness about, is this event really an event that should be physical? Or should we have a proper platform that will help us scale the message, without much of an impact, right? I think this is the first level of decisions. And that's where I see the events platforms having to, evolve and be up to the game of sustainability, because it's not only about the technology, it's about how the platform can help us adhere to, the net zero ambitions of many of the companies that will be participating of that event. And SAP is not different, right? Every event we do, we have that decision-making process. But when we do have to go and organize events where everybody is on board, it starts with all the materials we use, and also understanding that everything you bring to that event must have circularity, right? So if you have anything that you brought to your event that there is no circularity, that there is no reuse or, a clear end of use of that material, that's something you should be worried about, right? And that has an impact of the overall ambitions of ESG from countries and companies as well. Maybe Dan, you have more specific examples there.
I would just add to really ladder up to make sure we check in with the organization, right? If you're having an internal event, does your organization have broad ESG and or sustainability commitments? And or if you're running this event for your customers, do they have that? Because what you have the opportunity to is to leverage, not just align, but leverage those ambitions. That's what I'm that's what I was getting to, that ambition to action gap, that often is not really taking those commitments and really and using them to help make differentiated decisions. So sometimes we're going to do it differently. We see the opportunity to do it differently, but that ability to then speak to why this helps us achieve, or that helps your customers achieve their sustainability objectives expressed in those net zero ambitions or science-based targets, is what I would really encourage as the first place to start, because they are very much your opportunity to make differentiated business cases.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense. We do we have some very large organizations as customers, like Johnson and Johnson, Abbott, and some very large organizations. So I think that matches really well for their agenda. One of the questions that I see on the chat here is, being a part of a smaller organization, how do you think we can drive sustainability activities? And I think this is really relevant for this group. Any thoughts on this?
For me, it's the best opportunity a small organization should ever have, right? Because sustainability means opportunities, right? Entire value chains are adapting their business models towards sustainability. And if you're a smaller player that have a niche focus, oh my gosh, when you embrace sustainability, you have a core differentiation for your customers. So I would say for smaller companies that embrace those principles of better impact to the environment, to the people, to the communities, that will indirectly bring value to their customers and differentiate their offering, right? So that's the best opportunity they ever could have.
Yep, agreed. Speak to your customers, and not just the ability to deliver to them, competitive pricing and the service to which they desire, but speak to them to be able to deliver that to them, and help, not just say that we're doing it sustainably, we're helping enable your sustainability. And if that last piece is where you land, that it's a strong differentiator, and it's just a growing differentiator in the marketplace as this ambition continues to expand for so many organizations.
Perfect. We got another interesting question. I think a lot of people are curious about what a chief sustainability officer does. So one of the questions is, could you tell me what a day looks like for a chief sustainability officer? Because I guess this is a Pedro question.
Well, I would say my role is to help every day the 50,000 customers that we have in SAP to have a better impact, right? The vision and mission of SAP is to help the world run better and improve people's lives. And I take that to the core of what I do. I help organizations to run better by managing not only their internal processes for profitability, but also for sustainability. And I also help improving people's lives because I help organizations to bring better outcomes. So basically, in my day-to-day is to understand what kind of technology can make that contribution and educate, make awareness, and put into action those technologies for my customers.
Thank you, Pedro. And we have about 30 seconds for one more question I think we can fit here. Maybe for you, Dan, any macro trends that you're seeing for 2023 and beyond that you'd like to bring up?
Compliance is forthcoming. We're seeing it in Europe. We're seeing it in the United States. That there is, and that compliance. We've talked a lot about greenhouse gas emissions and sustainability impacts, but also assessing risks and being able to disclose those for publicly traded companies. So that's the SEC ruling that Pedro referred to. That is a macro trend that is coming. It's coming fast. So assessing risks are both physical risks to climate change, as well as transitional or economic sort of market activity risks and opportunities, but to be able to express those risks in 10Ks into financially reported, financial reports, that's coming. And that is a significant sort of driver to this whole ecosystem of activity, that it's bringing more discipline on mainstream financial reporting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Dan. This has been a great session. We're starting now the evolution of events at 10:45. So jump over there. It's about to start. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Yeah, great to be here.
Together we got this.